definitely
He did a little bit.
Okay, good. He's also a little like OCD, so that
Yeah,
probably
but
would have like bugged him.
For the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything I could fix for you? Anything?
No, I
Just your base.
yeah, I typically fix it all.
This area? You just work on that area? Not be so old? Is this a snifter? Is that called a snifter, or is this
It's called a Glencairn glass.
A Glencairn.
Yeah, it's
I think
very-
you could call it a snifter.
Yeah.
Today, I am here to give you the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something that our world is desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis is Catholic Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined, is not a man.
You guys have upped your game.
You know what, guys? I gotta say, I love the concept of Man Show.
Warning: the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. Adam Minahan here, sitting in studio with David Niles. We got Juan on the buttons, and we have our good friend Cy Kellett back in studio. This is like number maybe 3 or 4 on the Catholic Man Show.
I think 3, and I was just thinking I could go back and look at them and just watch myself age, because I see I look grayer each time, which I mean is the natural course of things,
and
but nonetheless disappointing.
We have the effect of that.
Yeah, you're great. You are aging me with these programs.
You know what? This just happened this week. I typically wouldn't bring this kind of thing up, but I actually saw an eyebrow hair in the mirror where the long half was like light brown.
Oh,
and then the back half, like the half closest to my eyebrow, was gray. Yeah. And it was like, there it is.
Like, you just crossed some kind of.
That was the moment, and it was like on display right there in the mirror. I actually saved it to show my wife, and it's like, look, babe, there was a moment. And it was like pretty clear, like gray or like brown, and then gray.
Boom.
Like something. I don't know. Maybe I had a rough day. You know, a very stressful afternoon, and it's just that particular hair said, "That's it. I'm out. I quit."
And that was the beginning of your death.
Yeah,
now you're on that.
You know what? Like
slide.
They talk about death as if like it happens, but it's a slow grind.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, that's true.
It's like
grind is the right word.
It's not like he died yesterday. It's like no. Like we've all been dying for a long time. You know?
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Well, I was going to dedicate this episode to Lady Haley with it being her birthday week. But maybe it's just not as fitting as we're sitting here talking about death.
Yeah, it's like, she's a year older?
Yeah.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did just have our 9th annual Catholic Radio fundraiser here in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Woo!
It was awesome. You guys have done an amazing job on that. I got to say, to be in that room with like well over 400 people, and the spirit here in Tulsa and the spirit around St. Michael Radio is really joyful, and not joyful in some kind of pious way, but people really seem to love one another and love the radio stations and love Jesus. I love coming here. I'm really,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really grateful to have people who are supportive of Catholic radio, and even like non-Catholics that are supportive of Catholic radio. You know, we had several people there last night who were non-Catholics, who very much appreciate Catholic radio.
Yeah, I was very suspicious of them, but that's just my nature.
I'm watching.
I was like, I kept my eye on them.
I am glad you're here, but I am watching you.
Yes, right.
So yeah, it was a really great time. I can't believe next year we'll be 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
That's hard to believe.
In fact, this morning when I was supposed to be praying, instead I was thinking about like what's something awesome we could do next year.
And Jesus is over here like, hey, I'm awesome. I am awesome.
Right. And he's like, Dave, there will be time for that.
Yeah.
Like,
my suggestion for the 10th anniversary would be no centerpieces and pizza for everyone.
Really get back to our roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Just get anything that has any class, associated with it.
Yeah.
Just get rid of that.
Maybe get jugglers.
Yeah. Well, no, jugglers are very classy. What's wrong with you?
It depends on the juggler.
So what's been going on at Catholic Answers? What have you guys been working on? What do you have anything in the pipelines?
You're like still in California?
Still doing that?
Yeah, we're still in California. We're mostly in recovery. There's a kind of sense of depression in the whole building because you guys stole Carlo Broussard from us.
Yeah.
So that was rude.
It was fair. We stole him fair and square, though.
You did steal him fair and square. Yeah, you made a better offer.
Yeah.
I miss Carlo.
Yeah.
I really do. Carlo's a absolutely wonderful person to have in the building, and now I feel really sad. I feel really down for this.
Well, I've had the opportunity to work with Carlo for a while, and you're right. He's such a joy. He'll walk into your office every morning, and say, "Hey, bud, how you doing?" Give you kind of a hug, like get after it today. Words of encouragement.
Right.
But it is so great to be able to partner with have the diocese partner with Catholic Answers into an official partnership.
Right. It's great for us. I think it's a very good sign.
And I'll tell you what, he's been so well received here. Mm-hmm. He's been going, giving talks all over the diocese, going to some of the rural areas where there are, very few Catholics in some of these small towns, and he's pulling crowds of like 70 people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One of the pastors down there is a good friend of mine. Said, I haven't seen 70 people at mass.
Yeah.
Since I've been here.
Yeah.
And so whatever he's doing, it's working, and we're glad he's here.
Yeah. And he's a unique person. He has a unique skill set to be able to play the accordion and be a Thomistic philosopher.
Right.
And that is kind of emblematic of him. That he's a joyful person.
Yeah.
A normal person, and
he's like playing the accordion with one hand and curling his motorcycle with the other.
Yeah, exactly. Right, and saying things like in the second part of the second part. But so I don't know that you could imitate this in every diocese in America. We'll get another Carlo to go in there. That's not going to happen. But I do think that it's a really good thing for Catholic Answers, and a lot of people have said it's a really good thing for Tulsa too. Tulsa's a very special place. I think.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that has to do with the Catholic community being small, though, like feeling itself as a little bit not. I don't know what the word is, but a little bit like out of place or in this real Bible Belt.
That's a good question, because I really do think that there's a lot to that. Like if you go to a conference, like when a conference, this is the beginning, and there's 50 people there in the beginning, and it's well done, and then years later it's grown and there's 1,000 people, and that's awesome. Like you're glad. The point was of this men's conference or whatever to get all these men here. But you kind of still reminisce about the early years when it was so small.
It's like the urge people. Oh yeah, I used to follow Johnny Cash before anybody knew about Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
you want to be in that.
Yeah,
and there is that feeling here of something new and beautiful happening.
And so I just think there's a lesson that we could all think about and learn about: is bigger always better, right? Because actually, as I've gone in my spiritual life, especially when you think about evangelization or just anything that involves community, bigger is not necessarily better.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I do think because there's a kind of mass movement mentality that can come into it, and mass movements are almost always bad for people. They're rarely and they rarely can maintain whatever goodness that they carry, and we see them become corrupted and kind of just part of the background noise, and things that are built slowly, person by person that don't have that mass movement feel to them. Well, that's really, I think, more what Christianity is. I think sometimes we want Christianity to be like, when will it have its moment and be the next big thing? Well, will that be good? I mean, it will be good. It's not bad, but
I see what you mean. I think that's a good question.
But there's this. I was talking with Father Brooks about this last night, about the idea that, he said this thing to me. He goes, from the time of Jesus to the legalization of Christianity is 300 years. All right, so that's the entire history of our country, including the pre-colonial period. So from Jesus to the legalization of Christianity, 300 years. From that moment to the gospel reaching all the way to Scandinavia, 700 more years. So Europe's not that big,
right?
But it's not,
and it's all connected. Like,
yeah, right.
You could just ride a horse.
Not so much.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah, right. It's this pretty small place that it takes you 1,000 years for the church to really be the spirit of the thing, you know, and then it lasts 500 years, So, I do think that's important, that we not be too caught up in, because I'll tell you what, the other thing is, then we stop doing the things that actually grow the church that Christ is building, and we start doing programs or committee meetings and all, and we stop doing the things like prayer. And you know how you just avoid prayer to think about the 10th anniversary. You're a typical lousy Christian.
What program?
No, because if you think in the terms of 1,000 years, then monasteries make sense. But if you're thinking in terms of we've got to, grow our numbers, monasteries make no sense at all.
Very true. That's a good point.
And that's hard to do in today's world, with it being like we're very capitalist, we're very entrepreneurial, like blood, like grow.
That's right. Yeah.
But I do, evangelization happens one-on-one, right? Evangelization happens in small groups, like, to change lives. So when we get back, we're going to talk about hope. We're going to talk about change. Talk about America.
Yeah.
America.
We'll be right back. Yeah, we can just keep...
America is the best, isn't it? Gosh. Like you can't like when you're like, yeah, America. You can't do that with like, Germany. Or like,
well, yeah, they have done that several times.
Or like,
it just didn't work.
That actually is a common
like this,
German thing.
They go like this.
Yeah, not this. Yeah, they just put the hand the other way.
Yeah. It just hasn't worked out well.
But it does.
The world.
It's like, Switzerland. Like, it's like, guys, be quiet.
Yeah,
America.
Back to back World War champs.
That's right. They made us do it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan, our special guest, Mr. Cy Kellett, Catholic Answers Live. Thanks for being here, Cy.
Thank you for having me here. I love coming here to Tulsa. I'm going to talk about that on the air on Monday. I'm going to talk about there's just something going on here. You guys got something going on. And
it's called freedom, baby.
Is that what it is? It's called freedom?
Yep, that's what we got.
Okay. Well, good. Freedom seems to be working for you.
Yeah, it sells.
Yeah.
That's just another word for nothing left to lose.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I'm going to write a song about that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. That is good. You should write that down.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to talk about hope and change. There's obviously like such a great slogan. Somebody should.
I know.
Somebody should like. I feel like that could be
a poster,
a big winner politically. Like,
I feel like that could really carry the day. Yes.
Isn't it funny that political slogans is like, how can we say the same thing we did last time, just like just a little bit different, so that people don't realize we're just trying to do the same thing.
Exactly. We're trying to do, which is nothing.
Yeah. Which is funny, like when you try to run, it's like you're the incumbent and you're like, hope and change. It's like, ooh. Change?
Yeah. You sure?
You're the guy. You know, like,
we're changing to you.
Yeah, but still.
Right.
Let's still do it. Anyway.
Yeah, so because we are entering into Advent, which is very short this year, right? The season of Advent this year is short. And so as we're entering into it as Christians, we should be intentional about it because we don't have very much time. So,
right. And the season
Advent,
that we would like to be short, Lent, is never short.
It's never short.
They never shorten that.
No.
But Advent, where you're experiencing joyful, hopeful expectation, we'll shorten that one. But we're not going to shorten the you get no, whatever you're giving up.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah. And this year, like if you're doing Exodus 90, it starts on January 1st.
January 1.
Yeah. But it's really like Exodus 89 because January 1st is a solemnity. So anyway,
so you start slow this year. Got a little bit of a running start,
right?
Yeah, into it.
You still probably have to take a cold shower.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot in the world.
Yes.
And I think especially as Catholics, and for Catholics who really care about the faith, people who are listening to our show, there's a lot of things that I think we find frustrating, whether it's church leadership or when you look at, hey, this is a overwhelmingly Catholic state, and they voted to add abortion to the Constitution, or
we're seeing that
stuff like that. It's like, come on, guys, there's the list goes on and on. Okay, we don't have to.
Sure.
So why and how does one practice hope? What let's just start with some general specifics here.
Yeah, I think the experience of God is necessary for Christian hope, and so there's a certain sense in which all of Christianity has a mystical element to it. Not everybody has to be a mystic. Not everybody has to be St. John of the Cross. And it would be a horrible religion if everybody had to be St. John of the Cross. That would be too much. It
would be too much.
It would, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank God for St. John of the Cross, but if your name has "of the cross" in it, you're on this end of the curve.
Right.
It's a bell curve, and you're on this end of it. And God clearly didn't incarnate, become one of us, to make a religion that's impossible. That's not the point. But so we don't have to be all mystics in that way. But there is a kind of mystical element that the experience of God is necessary for us in order to have the hope that we are supposed to have. Because without the experience of God, just like to steal basically, a lot of what Pope Benedict said when he was Pope, you live within this horizon here, this worldly horizon, and you can't get yourself out of that worldly horizon. You need the experience of God in order to draw you out into a mystery that says, and that mystery is you may not know what it is or where it's leading, or we see through a glass darkly. But the experience of that mystery, of the mysterious element of life, the experience of the mystical, introduces the element of hope because it moves the horizon out. The horizon becomes almost out in the fog somewhere. I'm no longer stuck in the horizon of this world. And I think having the experience of God is harder for modern people than it was for any people before the modern period. And I don't think people give enough kind of weight to that idea, and so we end up feeling bad, like, what's wrong with me? Well, part of what's wrong with you is that you live in a world that is deeply, deeply wrong. Like you are who you are in part because we're 200 years into the most radical change in human existence ever. Starting in the 1820s. And now we're in the 2020s. We're in the 2020s, right?
Yeah.
All right, I get lost in time sometimes. Yep. But those 200 years are the most radically weird period in the history of humanity. We don't live now anything like everybody lived just 200 years ago.
Yeah.
It's utterly been devastated. So in a certain way, you could say, oh, it's utterly been transformed and made wonderful. Yes, but also something was devastated. So there's a devastation all around us that we don't see because we're busy celebrating how great it is to be modern, and you see these, you ever on the internet and the little articles will pop up that are, I don't know if they're articles or ads sometimes, but they're just like to get clickbait, I guess is the word for it. 10 crazy things medieval people believed, 10 weird habits of medieval.
And it's clickbait, but when you see that kind of stuff, it's like, I do want to see what.
Yeah, especially when they, and this is you should think about this for marketing for Exodus, because number 7 will blow your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to get at least to number 7.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm a human being.
And you click on it, and then you have to, it's like one page. Here's number 1 on one page, and you have to click next to get to number 2.
Oh, but they trick you. They have all these other things that look like the next button, and if you click them, they're an ad.
Dude.
Because for old guys, it's like, I don't know what to click. I'm clicking all these things.
And then it's like, next thing you know, you're just like putting your credit card number in somewhere, and it's like,
well, I mean, if you need my credit card and my social security number in order for me to find out what number 7 is, I'm going to give that to you. Clearly. I mean, I'm not a superhero. I can't hold out on that.
In order to close this window, please enter your credit card number.
Yeah, right.
Fine, just let me leave.
Right. Oh, no, they found a virus on my machine. So I think I'd probably talk about this more than I should, but I really do believe it, and I do believe it's not talked about enough. The loss of contact with the natural world is devastating. Mm-hmm. And that began in Manchester, England in the 1820s. And one of the things I like to talk about in one of the talks I do is that if you go to the Wikipedia page for Manchester, England, they have a painting from a hill looking down to Manchester in like the early 1810s or something. And you have this beautiful, idyllic, pastoral English town. And then there's another painting painted from the exact same spot in the 1850s. And this is on the Wikipedia page. You can look at them. They put, whoever did this is brilliant, right next to each other. You look down into Manchester, it's smokestacks and polluted, and it looks like, oh yeah, that's the modern world.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And that happened, that really did happen, and it really happened in a very short period of time. And after it happened in Manchester, it happened in London, and it happened in Paris, and then it happened in New York, and that transformation of the world, it brought enormous goods with it, and it'd be crazy to deny. I mean, we're talking.
No, I think you have to admit that,
right? But we're afraid to admit the devastation that it brought, because then that would require some change on our part.
Right, and I think when you have a conversation like this, it's not saying that, okay, we have to throw it all out. No, we just have to admit, hey, there was a cost, because I think the pressure is that, like, no, there was no cost. It's just all better, better. And it's like, whatever. Yeah. There was a cost. And so, like, let's just be honest about what the cost was. And then once we're being honest about it, we can actually, like, make good decisions now, because we're just being honest about it.
That's exactly right. I don't think I've ever articulated it that well, but that's exactly right.
Right, because obviously, like,
he stole that from me. I was just saying
you
that.
Were about, yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're not going to, like, throw out the internet, you know, or the tractor, or fertilizer, right? I mean, that stuff's sticking around.
They had fertilizer before.
Yeah, but not like they do now.
It was pretty organic.
Yeah, it's not the same. Look, I did science fair in grade school. It's like organic fertilizer versus pure nitrogen. It's a big difference.
No, yeah. But the one thing they had a lot of was fertilizer. You picked like the one thing that
they called it fertilizer. Today we call it manure, but it does work.
Yeah.
But like, one thing because it's like, well, why? Why is this? Like, why does that? What does that have to do with our experience of God, right? And I think it comes down to wonder, right? And just like appreciating. All of a sudden, the world turned from God's creation to man's creation, right? And like, that's kind of the world we live in now.
Yes.
Right? Oh, I live in it's like my cell phone. I live in like this technological world that has been created and crafted by man. And it's like, we can't figure out why it doesn't satisfy us. I don't know what the numbers are.
You are just killing today. I don't even know why I'm here. You are killing. We can't figure out why it doesn't satisfy us. That's exactly right.
Well, yeah. I mean,
we're God's creatures in a world created by man, and we can't figure out why that doesn't satisfy us. That's a perfect diagnosis.
Yeah. So, I mean,
you should stop talking. Everything you've said has been perfect so far, so don't mess it up.
I'm going to be like George Costanza and just like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, I had one good joke. But for instance, well, I'll talk about this on the other side of the break, just because, like, man today has no idea what all men knew 200 years ago.
Boom! Nailed it. Nailed it.
And number 7 is going to blow your mind.
Yeah, let's keep rolling. I'm good with it.
We are on a roll after all.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We're headed to Poland. Headed to Poland right after Easter this year. Going to go hang out with St. Faustina, St. Maximilian Kolbe, JP2.
Can people go with you, or are
yeah,
you just going?
they can totally go with us.
Oh, they can come with.
No, we're just going.
We just want you guys to
Be
know
jealous.
that we are going.
Be very jealous. We're going to
Don't
Poland.
tell Joe Heschmeyer this. He's constantly saying we should go to Poland. We should do a pilgrimage.
He
to
should
Poland.
come.
He should come with us.
We're going to be there on Divine Mercy Sunday.
Yes.
Which is like sweet.
Wow,
pretty awesome.
Yeah, at the birthplace of the Divine Mercy.
Yeah.
You'll be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going with Father Patrick Briscoe. Do you know Father Patrick Briscoe?
No, I don't.
He's a Dominican priest on the Eastern Province, and he's the editor of Our Sunday Visitor.
Oh.
He's really awesome, really great guy.
Very awesome.
And he stayed there in Poland for, I think, about a year when he was a younger priest. And so he has all the ins.
Oh, you got to have that priest.
Yeah.
That's when you're going on pilgrimage, you got to have that priest who's like, I know a guy.
Plus, I know like 4 words in Polish, so
yeah,
that'll help.
I don't know that my grandmother spoke Polish, and that none of that came to me. I don't think I know a single Polish word. Give me a Polish word. What do you got? Like,
"Sto lat," which means to life. It's like something you say.
So you know
before you
know
drink.
what to say.
I basically
as you're tilting your glass.
Basically,
up.
everything I know has to do with like what you say
as you're drinking,
right before you take a drink of something.
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, it's like the
those are important
Southern
words.
California Spanish speaker who can say "dos cervezas, por favor,"
yeah,
and "donde está el baño?"
Yeah,
that's
Rápido.
Those are two very important.
Right.
¿Dónde está baño rápido?
Rápido.
Mucho importante.
You need a fast bathroom.
Okay, so we're talking about
So yeah, I just want to finish this point because I want Cy's thoughts on it about modern man today. I think half of people, at least in the first world countries, will die without ever actually seeing the stars.
Yes,
okay.
Right.
Like there is no the places you can go in America where there is actually enough darkness to behold the heavens at night.
Right.
The way that everybody 200 years ago, I mean like for millennia, the history of humanity, every single person on the entire planet every night saw the stars in their fullness. Okay? And just beheld the magnificence of God's creation. And today, no matter, it's like even, okay, we have this place out in Michigan. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but still from our lake, you can see over this, like the mountain. There's a small town. It's a small town, like 20 miles away.
Oh, you see the light.
And you can see the glow, this faint glow coming over this hill. And you can tell, like, oh, there's stars over here. And then as you get lower in the sky in that direction, it's like they just kind of disappear.
Right.
And that's a small town from 20 miles away.
Yeah.
So, like,
I gotta
and
tell
just
you
that.
Yeah, but it's worse than even what you're describing, because even the person who can physically see the stars doesn't have the capacity of soul to see the stars, because the soul has been so wounded by entertainment and by stimulus that, wonder, to have the capacity, wonder spelled backwards is boredom. Don't work too hard on that one, because that's actually not true. But
I'm not a good speller, so I'll just believe you.
But the total lack of boredom, meaning like a kind of non-stimulus that is required for the soul to actually, not just to see physically, because that's not the only thing we need. We need to see as persons. The whole of the person needs to experience that nature, and we can usually only do it by surprise. Sometimes we'll be surprised by the natural world. We'll be surprised by the way the light touches something, or the way an animal did something, or but that's very rare. And mostly, like, if you take an American teenager out, we're gonna go see the stars, and they will be like, when can I get back in the minivan and get back?
That sounds so dumb.
Yeah, like what it's like there was a kid in our neighborhood when my kids were growing up who went, I think it was like a 6th grade trip or something, to Paris. And so she sees all these great artworks. But when she how was it? And she's telling us about it. And you get this sense of she had no appreciation for any of it. Like, she saw it, but she had no capacity to see it, to know. And that's not her fault. I'm not blaming her for that. But the capacity is missing in us. So, like, even like surfers, and many surfers have this great experience of nature, but essentially it's a utilitarian, even for this, because what they're looking for is the perfect wave, you're just using nature. You're not actually experiencing the natural world as a divine communication, which is what it is.
Yeah.
The natural world is a communication of God to us. It's for us. This is what the church teaches about. The entire universe is made for the entirety of the human race. This is something for us to experience together as a gift, but we can't experience it as a gift anymore. We just can't see it that way. So you have to think about not just how to have the physical spaces to experience the natural world, but to how am I going to get the capacity back?
Yeah.
And the honest truth is, you have that little thing in the beginning about asceticism. We think asceticism is to, strengthen us for the arduous moral task of the Christian life. Yeah, it's that, but it's also so that you can be joyful, so that you can have hope, so that you can see the world that God created and love it and appreciate it. Because if you're in the Audubon Society and every bird is to be cataloged and protected, and can you really see the bird? Like, I love you that you're in the God bless you for being in the Audubon Society, but if you can't experience that bird as a creation, as a gift, you can't really experience the bird. You're experiencing a lot that I would, I'm not opposed to the Audubon Society.
Yeah.
God bless them. I'm just saying that it's not just a matter of seeing physically, although that is greatly diminished. Where are we going to get the capacity to see, to be? Because a child in a New York City apartment can experience nature. When the sun comes in the window and there's the little dust mite, the child can't, if the child is adequately bored, that is not, there's no Bluey on TV, there's nothing, the child doesn't need to go to a forest, you don't need to get on a ship and go to the Antarctic. Nature is right there, and we can't get away from it. But does the child have that capacity? Because have the parents allowed the child's soul to flourish in that way?
Yeah. I think part of that capacity has been swallowed up or taken hostage by our desire to possess things. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So, when you see that bird, I have to take a picture of it. I have to capture it.
That's a very good point.
So that I can now I can have this bird. Okay? And so you totally, it's sort of like sterilizing the experience, right? It's like it's not fertile anymore in your soul or in your mind because I want to possess this. It's like, instead of enjoying it and letting this just be a moment, right? It's like, no, I have to get it. I have to capture it. Now it's mine and I have it forever.
Right.
When I went to Rome the first time, I realized I was doing this. You go to all these beautiful, every church, take a picture. Oh, I got to take a picture of that. And I realized I'm going around these churches, taking pictures of all these pictures. Okay.
That's right.
And then we finally came to a church that had a rule: no cell phones. And when we left, I was like, that.
Oh, that's a church.
I realized like that. Wow, I actually experienced that
Right.
church instead of like before. My experience was like, quick, I have to get a picture of all the stuff, as if like that was gonna like make my life better or something.
Your experience better.
You could just Google an image, like a much better picture of the
Right. Yeah.
crappy cell phone photo that I took, But it was just this desire to possess things instead of letting the beauty just be in there for a moment and like having this just be a part of my life now that beauty, I experience a real beautiful thing.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But that's a weird kind of modern problem of experiencing life as scarcity, despite the plenty, because we live amidst plenty. That
the burden of abundance.
Yeah, that we don't trust that this experience that I'm having right now of seeing this beautiful painting or this beautiful bird, I don't have to capture it. I don't have to preserve it forever. God's going to supply a million more of those. He's constantly supplying those. And if I just thank him and appreciate, I don't have to worry about the scarcity of sunsets. He's not quitting on that. All right. You're going to get more of these, he's the perfect summer breeze blows over me and I'm like, that's it. This is the peak of my life.
Right.
God, the plenty that's experienced by the poor people of the medieval period is so much greater than the scarcity that's experienced by the wealthy people of the modern period.
But what's the correlation between this and just a lack of being a contemplative man, or just contemplation in general? Like, because I think in order, you were talking about asceticisms and things like that. Well, the reason why we do that also is just to quiet our appetites, so that we can be still, that we can enter into rest and then wonder.
Yes, that's
and so but we don't cultivate the times to have contemplative moments, to meditate upon something. It's always, this next thing.
Right. And that's why you get that, I don't get anything out of the Mass. Right. Well, maybe because you're trying to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
You're thinking Mass is for you.
Yeah. Right. And just give worship and see how that goes for a while.
Oh, gosh.
We're here with Cy Kellett. We'll be right back. I just think we lose, we have lost like this sense of the importance of the contemplative life because we're so into the active life, and we kind of flip the two around, being that the active life is supposed to be more important. The more you do, the more utilitarian purposes that you the input outputs, the more you're able to say like, look at what I am worth.
Right.
Like, I have done this. But the contemplative life is the higher calling. It's what we're called to for the rest of for all of eternity.
Right.
Amen, brother.
As a metaphysicist, I agree with you.
Wow, man, that's a high endorsement.
I didn't even know that had anything to do with water.
I always love when people before any idea that you express, like. I was giving a talk in San Francisco one time, and a woman said, "As a scientist," that's how she started. I'm thinking, I'm going to hate whatever's going to come.
Yes.
I don't know what's coming next, but you started as a scientist. You're going to have to forgive me.
I'm judging you.
Already. Like, this is a disaster.
I hope you surprise me, but I'm pretty sure you won't.
I got pretty low hopes right now.
It's like as a father. I'm just going to start saying as a father.
Yeah.
And then,
well, honestly, that's like a liberal way to start anything.
Yes, let me give my identity.
Exactly. Right. Let me show you what group I identify with, because like that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. That's the most important thing. You need to know this about me before you hear my point, because then you'll know how important my point is.
Yeah. Because then you'll know that I'm right.
Yeah.
When I say it.
Yeah.
Let's roll. Is this 4? This is number 4.
Quattro.
Okay.
Quattro. But we're at 38 minutes. So.
That makes sense.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, Adam Minahan, special guest Cy Kellett. We're talking about wonder.
Yeah. Do you just have regular guests, or is everybody a special guest?
We have regular ones.
We have regular
you do?
guests.
Yeah, we do have regular.
Do you ever say that? Like,
A regular guest.
Yeah. David Niles, Adam Minahan, and regular guest Mitch Pacwa. No, you don't do that.
You know what? We don't have regular guests. Like it's not like we have someone who's like regularly on the show.
Finally, we got a little bit real here.
You know, like our regular guest would be like, now it's like.
I'm a regular guest
like
now.
Somebody is like,
years.
In the fourth segment of every show, so and so comes. Our regular guest, number.
That's true.
They're all special. But you know what, Cy? You are
special. Yeah.
You're actually special.
We're very, very grateful for your.
Do you know that this is actually helping me? Like hearing you two. I know you guys are being smart, Alex, but like hearing grown men say that I'm special.
My name's not Alec, but yes, I am smart, and you are special.
Bam.
Just give me a minute to let it sink in.
That's okay. Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
I do want to talk. So we're talking about wonder. We're talking about like the contemplative life. I'm curious. When Jesus was a young boy, the story of him going into the temple and the
I have so many questions about him as a little boy. Like
and he's a young boy and he goes into the temple and his parents are freaking out trying to find him, but he's in the temple and the scribes and Pharisees are like sitting in awe and wonder at what Jesus is saying as a young boy. Like imagine them like sitting there wondering and taking in. It's not necessarily just the words he was saying, right?
No.
Like this is kind of like what you were saying earlier, right? It's not just the content that Jesus was putting out, but they were able to sit and wonder in awe about his answers and who he is. And there's a lot of times in evangelization that we can sit there and we can have the right things to say. We can know.
Okay, are you just trying to run up the score? You bear Christ, you can. Oh, it's going to rhyme accidentally, but you can share Christ. You can. Oh, it's going to rhyme accidentally, but you can share Christ. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
That's a T-shirt.
Yeah,
there it is.
But I
somebody
apologize.
X that real quick.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it now? Like you're not tweeting.
Twitter.
Are you Xing now? I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
But I guess the call back to asceticism, and so I mean, in some ways, asceticism is really unattractive because it's like I have all this food, I have all this drink, I have all this entertainment, I have a hot water heater. This is a terrible idea, by the way. The cold shower, terrible idea.
But
it's,
whatever.
But they're all terrible ideas.
Cold
all
showers in
ideas.
California cannot be that bad.
Yeah.
Well, because no water comes out. We have the low flow water heads.
Next week, when you're in Bismarck, next week, you take a cold shower.
The ground temperature for water is the same.
Sure.
Everywhere.
Okay. You know what? I believe you. I believe you, Cy. Just go ahead and take a cold shower in Bismarck.
No, I'm not going to do it. No. I don't even want to go outside in Bismarck. I'm wearing my coat indoors in Oklahoma. You imagine how I'm going to dress when I go to Bismarck, North Dakota.
I'm glad it's you and not me.
But water heaters are a new thing as well.
What's that?
Over the last 200 years.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or 100 years or whatever it is. I mean, for all of time, people took cold showers. That was just like what you did.
Yeah,
the Romans had hot water.
Yeah, there's hot springs and things like that. But like for the normal,
that's why also I think people bathe like once a week.
Oh yeah,
whether they needed it or not.
Right. Yeah. Well, the amount of bathing that people do today is related to the status of women in society because the higher their status, the more they can say, "Would you please take a bath and brush your teeth?" So I think that's one reason to have a higher status for women in society.
Okay.
Oppressed women means disgusting men. Liberated women.
All right. I think that there's an interpretation of what you're saying that I totally agree with.
But is there another one that you?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. Yes, there's another interpretation that
empowered
I would
women is good for men. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Women allowed to like embrace the fullness of femininity.
Right. Yeah. But part of the fullness of femininity is saying take a bath.
Yeah.
You weirdo.
This actually goes back to the Saint John the Baptist. I must decrease, he must increase. We decrease so that Christ can fully animate who we are and who we're called to be, and thus we actually increase. It's this beautiful paradox that we decrease to get out of our way so that Christ can live in us, so that we fully can become the man or woman that Christ is calling us to be.
Yeah. Yes. Without question.
Yeah.
Like John the Baptist, who said that, is the greatest Jesus himself. This is the greatest person who ever lived. Up to this point. Now I'm going to baptize you, and that's going to change everything. But, the ability to decrease is the quality of greatness of soul that makes you able to be a John the Baptist or a King David, you know?
And when you grow in the virtue, when you grow in magnanimity, when you grow in all these things, the virtue of magnanimity grows, but also the virtue of hope grows, which kind of comes back to full circle, right? Like this is because you have something to hope for. There's no hope in heaven.
Nope, that's right.
The virtue of hope is not there in heaven. But the more you enter into this relationship with Christ here on earth, as we're still breathing and living, and we're growing in the virtuous life, the more we can enter into contemplation where we can quiet our senses and listen to our Creator.
Yep.
The more that we actually will grow in hope because we fully understand and recognize that which we are called to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have found in my own life the easiest way to do that, and I take the easiest path whenever I can, is sitting with Jesus in the Eucharist. That there are lots and lots of wonderful spiritual practices, but this one always seems like a kind of a shortcut to me. Like he does most of the work, in other words.
Yeah.
Like, and I imagine that I suppose I don't think that that's just a dumb thing to say. Like I imagine that the apostles in the years that they were with Jesus made extraordinary spiritual progress that other people don't make because they were in the presence of Jesus, and he does that to you. So I know it's very unmanly to always try to take the easy, and this is the Catholic Man Show, but I'm pretty devoted to finding the easiest way to do whatever needs to be done, including getting to heaven. Like there's the hard road, and I know we all have to be on the narrow road, and I don't like crowds, but it's going to get, I got to go the narrow road, but I would like to, my idea is to go the narrow road at the low traffic time. I would just when there's not a lot of difficulty or work, and the easiest way is just to sit with Jesus in the Eucharist.
Yeah, in devotion to his mother. Like,
hey, that's a very good point.
Hey, Mary, this road's crowded. Can you There's
can
you get me in?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's like the priest who knows people in Poland. Right. Yeah, okay, and she does. Yeah, that's a very good point, because my wife Missy and I did the consecration to Mary, and it's been miraculous in our marriage.
Really,
really,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she listens to me now.
Wow,
I know, it's amazing.
Wow,
like on air or in the home,
but. No, not on the air. She's not wasting her time with that. But in all seriousness, it really has been miraculous for us, and
praise God.
And not from coming from like I don't think when we did the consecration, we were in a bad place in our marriage. Not at all.
Yeah.
We were in a good place. But Missy wanted to do it. Missy's a convert to the faith, and she wanted to do it, so we did it together. And I've seen nothing but just flowering since then. Just
praise God.
Can you talk about you see flowering in your prayer life, in your relationship with her? Like what does that look like? What does it look like?
Well, you know how sometimes I guess you put the work in and you want to see the fruits of it. I feel the fruits of it more. Like it feels like it has become fruitful. Like Mary made it fruitful. Like and that meaning that we're kinder to each other. We're changes have happened where we're more patient. Marriage is full of temptations. For me, one of the temptations is grumpiness, and I have felt that just kind of evaporate in a way that, and I'm ashamed to say that I don't like being a grumpy person, but I know that it was Mary who started to loosen my tight strings a little bit. Like, you're going to be okay if you don't get your way in I was telling you about this yesterday a little bit about just learning to not get your way. And it's so pathetic to think that, I'm coming up on 60 years old and that I'm still attached to getting my way. Like, that's pathetic. But
I think by the time I get to be 60, I'm going to be more attached. It's like, look,
yeah,
guys,
like finally I should get a win here.
I actually know what the right way is. Yeah. So like, you need to listen to me. All right.
But like, I'm the kind of person who's driving and somebody else isn't doing it right. They're taking long, and I'm annoyed at them. Like, just do it the
right way.
Right. And there is something about spiritual maturity that is like, stop. That's the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you're just stop. And so I have felt that that tendency towards grumpiness evaporate in me. And I think for Missy, the tendency towards anxiety, the tendency towards worry has, and I honestly don't know how Jesus does what he does in Eucharistic adoration. I don't know how Mary does it. Like, I can't say we did this and then Mary did these 11 things. I can say we did this consecration and we saw the fruits of it. I don't know the cultivation. I don't know how that was mysterious.
Yeah. I don't know how seeds work either. But,
yeah, right.
But that seems to be effective.
Yeah, but right. Putting them in the ground seems to work.
Yeah.
We're out of time on Catholic Radio. Go check us out on thecatholicmanshow.com. We're going to continue this conversation with Cy Kellett, host of Catholic Answers. We're on the Lord team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus. But, like with this consecration side, I think like it does make sense, because when you do consecrations like this, whether it's, obviously to Our Lady, of all the consecrations, it's the best one. And ultimately all of them, you're consecrating yourself to Jesus.
Yeah.
Really, right? It's not actually about Mary. It's always about Christ. But what they do is they have like this way of an ordering principle in our lives that tends to take our focus or our behaviors or our attitudes or our devotions and puts them in the right order.
I think that's what's happened. Our marriage feels more in order.
And order is just so important. Like the modern world, all the stuff we've been talking about today. Well, why does it have this? Like, well, because it's disordering your values. It's putting higher goods above lesser goods. It's putting first things before last things. It's like you're getting all mixed up in what is real. Okay, and so consecrations, prayer, all of these things have an ordering principle in our life. Stargazing, right? Because there's even prayer, which it's like, oh, that's a supernatural thing. Well, it also has natural effects, okay? Even, like, that's why meditation, like, celebrities, they'll talk about, like, oh, I started meditating. And, like, they say it has this, like, well, that's because there is even a natural principle at work here that's not just supernatural, right? I mean, God he works always, all the time, right? So these consecrations, they just have a way of putting things in the right cubby of our soul and of our minds, right?
Yeah.
And so it does make sense.
It does.
Why it works. I don't know how.
No, right. But because all of that ordering actually requires somebody to do the work of putting it in order for you. And I don't know how she does it. I don't know.
She's the undoer of knots.
Yeah.
She's the best.
But
yeah.
As
the undoer of knots, I take her as my patron for fishing.
Oh gosh.
Especially if you're taking children.
I wouldn't have made Peter one, because it seems like he was just a terrible fisherman.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder like how successful he was as a fisherman.
It just seemed like every time they were like, "Oh yeah, we've been fishing the whole time and we have not caught anything."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I think that's
smart. A good point.
Yeah.
But Peter, I'll help, but are you in the right job? Maybe we need to move you into a position that's more suited to your talents.
More management.
Yeah.
Move you into management.
I just love Peter because, like, of all the apostles, to me, he's the most relatable.
Oh, he is.
He's just a mess. Even like at the end of his life, running away from his martyrdom, and Christ, like, well, I guess I'll go die again on the cross,
which is the ultimate Jewish mother move. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, right.
Like, really, Jesus? Just thanks for the guilt trip.
I just really appreciate. It's like, you know what, Peter? I'm glad that someone wrote down all this stuff, because I bet the other apostles, Do
you know why they wrote it down though? It's because Peter told it. It was Mark that wrote it down.
Yeah.
And Peter told it to Mark.
Right.
So that's something else to love about Peter, is the fact that he's constantly telling the truth about because he doesn't care about himself. He cares about Jesus by the time he's writing these things down. So he's not like, and then I walked on the water, and it was like, I started sinking.
Yeah. Then you'll never believe what I did next.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's exactly
terrible.
But that's all because what he really wants to communicate is that Christ put his hand out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that that Peter wants you to know. He doesn't care how stupid he looks in the story. He wants you to know that Jesus put his hand out.
Yeah.
And that's
Even though really he looks pretty awesome. Like, you walked on water, bro.
I know.
Like,
I know.
I don't know how. I know there's like some other saints who reportedly did that, but it's like it's a small crowd.
Right.
It's like
plus, and he doesn't have the saints. He doesn't have like, oh yeah, I think Saint John Capistrano.
Right.
I think he
if that Carthusian can do it, like I can.
I could probably walk on water.
Yeah, he don't. I don't even know if he knows anything about boats.
My favorite story of Peter is when he gets behind Jesus and whispers in his ear, 10. And Jesus is like, what are you doing? And Peter tells him, you told me, get behind me, say 10.
But that joke is funnier in Spanish.
No, he said yes. This is the wonderful thing about that. I'm going to repeat that joke so many times now. Like, so many times.
You have to give me credit anytime. You can just take
that's
your
the problem
own.
is, though, I'm not going to give... I'm going to think I thought of this. Like, 5 minutes after I leave here, I'm going to think I made that joke up. You've changed my life right now.
Juan, are you trying to say that you came up with that joke on your own? Yeah. Okay, Mister, give me credit.
I don't know where I don't know where... Well, I can get credit for relating it.
Can you come on the air and tell that joke when Joe Heschmeyer's on?
I'll call.
I feel like he would like that joke.
Because Joe is the ultimate pun guy. He just loves puns. So, but the problem is he might actually know that one. If it's out there in the world, he knows every pun. But
he's very punny.
Yes, he is. He has a disease of punning.
So one thing, I just have maybe one more question for you. Like, I've been reading Wendell Berry a lot.
Oh, great!
And well, let me take that back. I'm not reading. I'm listening. It's an audiobook. I don't know.
Don't do that.
I don't know how.
Just say you're reading it.
You know, it's so much easier just to watch the YouTube 10 minutes of Wendell Berry.
Yeah. So that's so true. But listening to him, and just his wisdom of like being out in nature and the importance of taking care of the land, and the importance of taking care of creation, has really changed my kind of my view of what creation is for, and probably the role in which we have to take care of creation.
Yeah.
But in a lot of places, especially like where you live, it's not like you can you don't have big farms, you don't have things to go do. So I guess my question is, what does somebody do, or what do you do in a place where you live in a big city, or you live in a place where you can't just go out and stargaze because of light pollution? Like, how do you get in touch with creation when you are kind of in these metropolitan areas?
Well, I mean, you see it in urban places that there are people that have the on the stoop, the little garden, that there are people who feed the birds, or, it's kind of a natural human thing. And there are certain people who give into it. I'm very interested in Singapore, and I would like to go there sometimes because they're building buildings in a different way in Singapore. I don't know if you've heard about this, but they'll build high rises because it's Singapore. There's no place to build, so you have to build high rises. But they'll take a whole floor of the high rise and leave it open to the elements, and it's a park with plants and all that kind of thing. Or they grow plants on the outside of the building, so they'll be the building is built so that there can be a tree here, and so you're 50 stories up, but you're in a forested setting. I don't think that's dumb. I think that's smart, actually. I think that it's probably going to take 100 years for people to humanize it and make it, because there's always the experts who are like, what we did, and that after they mess it up, then people
as a scientist.
Right. Yeah. As an urban planner, I just want to say.
Oh, wow.
But the really horrible architecture of mid 20th century is over. We've graduated out of it, and people are making space for praise God, and are like in New York City, there was the whole period in the late 1900s where the building of Central Park and all these parks, and there was the green belt idea that cities would be surrounded by these green belts, and so you have big urban places like Boston that have these green areas incorporated into the urban. And then we got super efficient sometime in the 1910s or 20s, and It's these artificial, totally. And then you have the city of Chicago, which is, I mean, architecturally, the city of Chicago is a nightmare because these people, these mid-century architects were like, well, let's just do steel and glass. That was their idea. And so you have these, it looks like steel and glass. I do think that in the 21st century, the best architects are way, way past that. Way past that. So you can have urban farming, you can have urban gardening, you can have urban greenery, you can have people living in contact. You know, just the fact that they have eagles living in New York City now because they made places for the eagles to live on the sides of buildings, and so people can see an eagle. It's not hopeless. It can be done. I do think we'll have to get away from the hyper efficiency of, you know, the grid systems of cities where, you know, another thing, look at Chicago from the air. It's perfect squares. Everything is for miles and miles. It's perfect squares. But I do think we're graduating from that. And that it'll have more. I mean, like the urban garden is a big thing now. Lots of neighborhoods have their garden where you can have your plot. If you live in the neighborhood, you can have your, you know, 20 square feet or whatever to grow your corn or. So I think there's hope there. I wonder if maybe population decline will contribute to that. That there will be more. You know, even now in New York City. Commercial real estate is at an all-time low. I mean, there's just millions of square feet of empty commercial real estate. Well, that's because of Amazon, and because of Zoom. Basically, Amazon and Zoom killed commercial real estate.
Working from home.
Well, what are we going to do with those places? You know, like the worst places to be a human being. I'm convinced the worst places to be a human being. I'm not talking about poverty and all that. I'm talking about in a fully modern. Prosperous life. The worst place in the world is an airport. They are like hell. There's no fresh air. There's no, everything is commercial, and it's commercial in an exploitive way. Mm-hmm. There's nothing humane or human.
You pay like $18 for a beer.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you don't.
But that's, I mean,
I do.
If you're a celebrity, you get beer free.
Well,
we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, this is what I always say. I go to the little store, you know, in the airport, because you go through security and then you get your Diet Coke, right? Because I'm a Diet Coke drinker. So there's always like a lady there, and I'll give her the Diet Coke. She'll go $4.50, you know, for a bottle, and I'll go, that seems fair. That's what I always say, and they always crack up. They're always like, yeah. Like nobody ever said like,
yeah, we're totally robbing you here.
Yeah, because it's not her fault. She's just working there. Oh, yeah. She's perfectly happy to laugh at it. Like, yeah, that seems fair. That seems like a fair price. Yeah, $4.50 for that.
You see that line over there where the TSA agents are with the. It's like if I go on the other side of that line, $4.50 buys me 12 of these. You know?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why on this side. This is special. This is special Diet Coke.
But they're nightmare places. And so you have to me, like I first realized this in Heathrow Airport in London, which is Terminal 5 in Heathrow Airport is the largest self-contained structure in Europe. Every square inch of it is hell. It's like they built hell. It's bright lights flashing at you. It's signage that's confusing. It's terrible smells because all of the commerce is they're trying to sell perfumes, high-end perfumes to people, you know, and so the whole place is horrible. And I always say this, Missy, like this is the closest that you can get to hell. This is our public space. This is who's designing these. But what's going to happen, I think, is people are going to have to say this is not acceptable anymore.
Right.
We just won't accept this anymore. You have to say to who's ever running Heathrow Airport, no, there needs to be fresh air in here. There needs to be places where it's not loud, where there's nothing flashing at you. And the response to that is, well, this is paying the bills. You know, having whoever it's all the high end places, you know, like I don't know the names of them, like Cartier and Fendi and one after another.
I don't know anything about that.
No idea who those are.
I'm higher class than you guys.
Oh yeah,
dude.
I wouldn't have guessed that from the suspenders.
Bro, you live in California.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, so these people are probably paying, like Cartier is probably paying, $1 million for that, for whatever that's every year for that square footage. Somebody has to say, well, you know what? It's worth it to not get that $1 million, to turn that place into a place for children to play, or for quiet, and until we have a real revolt about public spaces where we go, this is not acceptable. This is not human. Everybody has to go to airports now. They shouldn't be hell. They should be humane places.
I totally agree, but the whole thing has to burn down before. I mean, like, there's a lot of things that have to completely fall apart before I feel like we can get to that point where it's like, you know what?
I feel that way too.
We shouldn't just have profit as our as the main incentive behind everything. It's like, okay, good luck. I mean, I agree.
But this is like, even to say to public authorities like the Transit Authority of Greater London, you need to not have the profit motive. A public authority, it shouldn't be the profit motive,
right?
It's you're there for the public good. Well, they don't see a distinction between those two things. They don't make a distinction between that. Well, if we bring more money in, then clearly we're doing the public's business,
right? They would say, well, if we can be more profitable, maybe we could lower the rate of lower the cost of the fare or whatever. Right. And that's how we're going to serve humanity, by just letting charging them less, which there's merit in that, but
there is right. But people,
that can't be the only thing that you're looking at.
No, right. And part of this is that that's an environment designed for wealthy people as well. It's not an environment designed to welcome anyone. It's not an environment where, a family with, you see these families with 5 or 6 kids going through an airport, and the mother looks like she's being crucified.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is an actual crucifixion for her. And why? Why did we build our public space to crucify mothers? Why did we do that?
Why did you do that, Dave?
Because mothers don't pay very much.
Yeah, right. This is a space for wealthy.
Yeah. I mean,
people who
it's proven. It's like those stuff in the airport. Okay, like there's bricks. You can go buy a suit,
right,
in the airport. And for the longest time, I thought, who is what? Like, who's buying? And then I finally realized there are some people who they live here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, and so the only time, if they need a suit, that's the only option they got, because they're going from this place to right. Like the idea of going
home. Airport next time, I'll stop in and get a suit.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so it's incredibly sad to think about.
Yeah,
like that there's an industry about selling you some of these things in the airport for more money just because they know you ain't got a choice.
No,
you live in this airport.
Yeah, right.
And if you need this, the only place you're gonna buy it is right here.
Yeah. I do think the weirdest thing is the luggage shops. Like, how did you get all the way to the airport and now you're just realizing you need luggage? Like, did you come in here with everything in a plastic bag and you see that and you go, oh, that's a good idea. That is a better idea. I had not thought this all the way through.
Right, yeah. Or jewelry. It's
right. It's like, I'm probably going to get a deal here. Yeah. This is probably the place to buy that diamond ring I've been wanting.
Yep. You're just you're an executive flying around. It's your anniversary, and you really didn't have time to jewelry.
Jewelry's typically not an impulse buy.
Right. Exactly. Right. I mean, well, maybe it is for some people. I don't know.
I don't know that.
It's just weird. And just to wrap this up, about
let me sum up.
Let me sum up, okay? Because we kind of talked about paradoxes and a lot of different things. All of this stuff is all fake. All of it. Everything in the airport, it's all
none of it is anything you need.
It's just feeding our appetites for stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you earlier you mentioned a surfer, and I was just thinking about the importance of nature, of that surfer. If anyone's been in the ocean and you feel the power of a wave come across you, and you realize that thing could kill me.
I know.
Okay.
Yes.
And just the power of it, and we're talking about one wave on one planet in the entire universe. Okay, and like this one wave on one beach of like the insignificance of that one wave, and yet like if you're there, you feel this like the power of it, and like the things that are happening all over the universe that are like magnitudes more powerful and greater than that, right? And yet like you feel the power when you're in that wave, okay? And it's just like God acting in your life right there, okay? And if you're not in the wave, if you're not in the water, you won't ever have this experience, okay? If you're on the beach reading your Kindle or whatever else, then you're going to live the rest of your life without having experienced this. And
it's amazing what 100 yards does. The 100 yards from the beach to the surf is a total life change. Like you can be in so much trouble so fast, 100 yards away from people who are just sipping margaritas.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're like caught up in this man-made world in the airport. And I think the great irony is that we are living in a world of our own creation, and that is preventing us from wonder, preventing us from like having a holy imagination where God is calling us to join in his own like work of creating, right? Like we're in this fake world that we created, but we should be in the real world. Like, because when you get into your imagination and you start praying and wondering, you do actually join in like this act of creation, right? When you wonder and you like, when you get ideas and you like expand your thoughts, okay, you are in fact like participating in creation in that moment with God in that contemplation because of your wonder. And so we're living in a sterile world we created, but we should be living in a fruitful world, participating in his creating with him. And it's just like this great irony and a paradox.
But that's what evil is a horrible irony of I'm going to grab the fruit myself. God was going to give you the fruit anyways.
Yeah.
He was going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Like, but you had to grab it, and you ruined it.
Right.
Jerk.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, not you personally, Dave.
I'm sure it's a different
Adam.
Dave. Yeah.
Cy, thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's always a blast to be with you and to hang out. Do you have any works upcoming that you want to push?
Push it.
Push it real.
I'm going to be on Tuesday. I'm going to be in Bismarck, North Dakota. Come on out, everybody in North Dakota. That's all I know. I don't have anything beyond that. I don't think.
You just wrote an article on Napoleon.
Oh yeah,
it is riveting. You should check it out.
This is one of the great pleasures of my life. Last night, someone said to me, "I read your article."
That
was exciting.
They're like, they were jazzed.
They were all in.
I have not read it, Cy, but I intend to.
At Catholic.com, it's free.
It's free.
It's free. Yes, and I think you can get the machine to read it to you. I think Catholic.com has that thing where you go, read it to me, and it won't be me reading. But if you call me, I'll read it to you.
All right,
you just give me a call
for $39.99.
888-318-7884.
Yeah, right. Just call anytime. 888-318. Yes, that's exactly right. No, try that number.
Okay.
No, seriously, try that number later tonight.
I will.
888-318.
Does it change? It's like something else when it's not the show?
It's just a message that says, we're not on the air right now.
Okay.
Thank you for your call.
Thanks so much, man. It's been a blast.
Oh, I love coming here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, my goal is to just get here every 2 or 3 years now. I want to be
let's make it.
I want to be a regular guest. I don't want to be a special guest anymore. I want to be a regular guest.
Deal.
All right.
Sign
Peace,
here
brothers.
and here.
Okay, yeah. All right. Initial there.